going to try and go through this real quickly with you. I'm sorry I had to be in a meeting, so this is kind of a tough day because you're getting your cameras for the first time. So everybody's going to get a camera, and they're different models, so they're slightly different, but not too much. Everybody will either have a memory card, which is called an SD card, on the side, and you just open it up and then push once and the card will pop out, so you can take the card out. You have to put it back in the correct way, otherwise it'll break the card dispenser, and then close it up. Some of you will have a battery. Can I see that? Okay, battery and the card on the bottom, and so the same thing happens there. You just push once and then the card will pop out, and with the battery you just push the white one time and then the battery will pop out. Make sure you put everything in and out the exact way it belongs, otherwise you will break them. And once you break a tiny piece, the whole camera's kaput. So what a waste of money, because it's just a tiny mechanism, but it costs more to fix it than to buy a new one. So if you break it, you bought it by signing up for this class. So please be very careful. The other thing is always keep your arm or neck inside the neck strap, so make sure that you've got it attached to you so that if you were to drop the camera, it's attached to you somehow and it doesn't break. Okay, on the front you have a lens cap. Most of them are not connected, so when you take it off, put it somewhere safe, because before you return it you need to be able to put the lens cap back on. All right, so on the top we have these dials, and if you turn your dial to the green mark so that the black line is matched up with the green mark, that's automatic. So automatic, you just turn on your camera to the on position, take off your lens cap, and then you can take a picture. Okay, so it's dummy proofed, and then we've got a picture. Bam. Okay, so that's that. But what we're going to be using in this class is manual mode. And so the manual mode on the top is the M. So you would turn it so that it's matching up with the M. And the M is comprised of 3 different pieces. So manual mode, if you look at the back of your camera, okay, it looks a little like this. And manual mode, let me change an adjustment real quick just so you can see it. Okay, there we go. Okay, in manual mode, you'll have this line across the bottom of the camera. So see that line there? It goes from -2 to +2. That means in -2, your picture's going to turn out super dark. In +2, your picture's going to turn out super light. So if you push on the shutter speed halfway, like you're about to take a picture, so this is the shutter release. Sorry, not shutter speed, shutter release. And I push on it to take a picture. But I push halfway down so that I can see on this line. Just a minute, it's reading it for a second. Okay. I push halfway down and then I can see the blinking dot there. So when I push halfway down again, it's blinking at a +2, which means that it's too bright right now because I've got it shining right into the light. So that means my picture's going to come out too bright. And the way you fix that is you look at the settings on your camera. So if you look over here where I've got this piece here, I'll show you with my mouse here. The way to make your pictures come out well is to know that when you are using your camera, it is comprised of 3 different pieces. One is the ISO, which is the film speed. We used to have to put specific film in the camera. And the other is shutter speed. So how fast do you want the shutter to open and close? If you open it really fast and close it, then you will freeze action. If you open it for a long time, like if you were taking a nighttime picture so you can let lots of light come in, then you also risk blurring the picture if there's any action going on. Okay, then aperture shows how much you want in focus. So if you're using a large number like f/22, and that's right here on the back, see the F number right there? Okay, f/22, and that's your shutter speed. We'll play with that in a second. I just talked about that over here, the shutter speed. And then the ISO says auto right now. We're going to change that in a second. Okay, so the aperture, then the f-stop, if it's at 22, which is a large number, then you're going to have everything in focus. If I'm taking a picture of somebody and the mountains in the background, I'm going to get everything in focus. If I have a smaller number like 5.6, then I stand a better chance of getting just me in focus here and blurring out the background so that you have one focal point in your picture. So this is just a whole game. And the game is you move it back and forth, the numbers, until you get a good picture. So for example, the ISO is always the one that you can manipulate the most. So right here, my ISO says auto, and using my wheel on the top of the camera here, right there, okay, on the top of the camera, I'm going to shift. You have to hold the AV button down right there, AV button, and it goes over to, oops, where's my ISO button on here? Sorry, it's a different model. On the top, I have an ISO button. So I'm going to push the ISO, and a safe place to be is 400 for right now. Okay. If our pictures are turning too dark, we can go higher. If our pictures are too light, we can go lower. So now I've got an ISO of 400. Okay. So that's the first part of the triangle over here. On the left, you can see the triangle here, ISO. Then the second is the shutter speed. Right now, when you go out, you're probably going to take a picture of your friend standing still today, or you're going to take a picture of an object that is sitting still. So if you don't have to worry about things moving, then your shutter speed can be a little bit slower, which lets more light in, which will give you a better picture. And the way you get that is the shutter speed is the first part right here. Right now it says 5 seconds. That's ridiculous. So you're going to move the wheel on the top. Again, this wheel up top here. Okay. You're going to move the wheel until it says about, try 1/30th. Okay. So let's sit around 1/30. If it goes lower than 1/30, like 1/50th, 60th, let's see, other way. If it goes slower than 1/30th, like 1/25th, 1/20, 1/15, you'll find that it will blur everything. So try not to go any lower than 1/30th of a second. So 1/30th there. So that's the shutter speed. Then the last one is the aperture, the f-stop. For right now, the f-stop, and I push the AV button on the back, AV button to get to my f-stop, and I'm going to try and set it as low as it goes at 5.6. Okay, so now I'm going to try and take a picture, and when I push on the button, I see now that my picture is, let me see, on the line, it's at the -2, which means it's too dark. It's not going to take a very good picture. So I have to adjust something to move it up and let more light in. If it's too dark, I need to let more light in. And so I can let more light in. The easiest way is to change your ISO. So I'm going to go to my ISO, and by pushing the button on the top again, I'm going to bump it up to 1600. There we go. Bump it up to 1600 there. And then I'm going to push the button again. And now I can see it's starting to, on the back, my, where are we looking? Right here, my exposure meter right here, where I'm circling around, okay, that exposure meter is now closer to my 0, which means it's going to take a decent picture. So I got to take a decent picture, and then that's how we're going to play with it. So you just have to shift those things around. Landon's in the classroom. He will help you out, and then we'll see where we go from there. Okay, if you're struggling today, just put it on auto mode, but really try and talk to the people who understand what's going on, and be very careful with the cameras. Bring it right back and put it right back in the bag that it belongs in. All right.